Is it done a certain way? What happens during that process?
I want you out of my head. I want to
Okay.
stop thinking about it. I want the memory to stop. I don't want to go to a bakery and smell something, and now all of a sudden I'm reminded of it again, or I see something or a color or a person. That's what forgiveness is to me. I simply want them out of my head, whatever it is. Now, let me be clear. Forgiveness is selfish. I do it for me.
You're tuning into the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, brought to you by Your Oneself. Join us as we explore the mind-body-spirit connection, guiding you towards a more balanced, fulfilling, and purposeful life. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together. Welcome back to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, and I'm joined by our amazing co-host, Tara O'Neill, clinical hypnotherapist, life coach, and yoga instructor. Together here to help you navigate the journey to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Today we have the pleasure, very excited to talk with Katharine Giovanni, 3-time award-winning best-selling author, speaker, and original founder of the independent concierge industry. Katharine has authored over 12 books, including her latest release, which we're so excited to talk about and learn from, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. Katharine's journey from battling stage 3 breast cancer to navigating a challenging childhood has given her profound insights about resilience, and her interpretation and analysis of forgiveness is so unique and really a game changer. So we're super excited to learn from her lessons and explore the transformative power of forgiveness. So Katharine, welcome aboard.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And one thing that we do like to ask authors and creators about their most recent work, what's your book about?
The book is about, let me back up. Everybody is taught you need to forgive. Your parents tell you, your minister tells you, everybody teaches you. They say you need to forgive and forget. Okay, how? Nobody teaches you how. And with all due respect, there might be one unicorn person on the planet who can forget this stuff. I am not one of them. So forgetting isn't even an option at this point. So the book is teaching you how to forgive, and so they stay forgiven.
Yeah,
And
I loved the one video, I believe it was on your website, and you said even just the word forgiveness makes people cringe. Can you talk to that? Because we say forgiveness and we try to put a smile on our face, but like, what's the real feeling that's happening underneath?
The minute Brian said the title of my book, 9 out of 10 people listening to this broadcast immediately goes on their 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, horrific dumpster fire, and 1 being absolutely easy peasy. Everybody is thinking of their number 10. Probably the two of you are as well. And that's fair, because these people really hurt you. And that's where you go. And that's when people say, I want you to forgive. You're going to your number 10 person and say, I don't want to. And, quite frankly, it may not even be appropriate for you to forgive that person, depending upon how horrific it was. So I want you to start with the number ones. I want you to start with the easy people, the people who took your parking space yesterday at the grocery store. You can forgive that person. The person who cheated off your math test, you can forgive that person. It's easy people. So I want you, in the book, there's worksheets and all sorts of stuff. But the first part of the process is to write your list of people, places, and things. Stay with me. I did say places and things. And then rate everybody from 1 to 10. You might have 10 number 5s for a man. It doesn't matter. Write your list. And then you start with the easy ones and you work your way up. And there's so many other things you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire.
So on that scale, 10 is just what people might deem as the most unforgivable, atrocity or hurt that someone else has given to them.
Right.
And 1 is the most, minor, that you kind of can just brush it off
Sure.
without your help.
Right.
Okay.
Ones are like the person who stole your sandwich out of the work refrigerator. Okay, I hope
For
you can
some people,
forgive
it
that
might be a
person.
5, but yes.
That might be a 5 if they're doing it on a regular
Yeah.
basis, right? And then they substitute the sandwich and put a lot of hot sauce in it. Yeah, I get it.
Sure. But yeah, no, this is genius. This is blowing our minds, so we love it. So yeah, can you talk about the people, the places, and the things? That to me is so intriguing.
Einstein correctly proved, and I have a whole science chapter for the naysayers out there and several studies that I discovered, but Einstein did prove that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just transforms. So when you guys get mad, every single one of us thinks it leaves our mouth and dissipates into the air magically. It does not. It stays in your energy field. So for those of you listening to this broadcast, I'm holding a coffee cup that's very opaque in front of me. So for the moment, see if I can get this in the camera. This is my anger. It's manageable. I can clearly hold my anger off to the side. I can conduct my life. I can do a podcast with the two of you. I can go out to dinner. It's easy. I can manage my anger. But the longer I hold on to this glass, then I'm going to have to use my other arm to hold it up because now it's getting heavy and it's starting to affect my life. If I hold on to it even longer, now I'm holding the coffee cup directly in front of my face and look at my body language. I can't have a conversation with you. My dream significant other might have just walked into the room. I'm missing it because I'm focused on my anger. My friend circle has gone down to nothing because I'm talking about it. I'm breathing it. I'm joking it. And I'm unhappy and I'm miserable. Who wants to be around people like that? So the trick becomes put your anger down. Now, a lot of people say anger is toxic. Okay, I'm really into the how. Okay, how? Nobody tells you that. I'll tell you that, but nobody else will, it seems. Okay, how exactly is it toxic? You can Google this gentleman. He's a Japanese researcher that studied water. Okay, and his name is, I want to say it's Matsumoto. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it, but if you Google just that, you'll find it. He studied water, and I'm dumbing this down a lot. He took 2 containers of water. One, he said beautiful things to. He talked to it, believe it or not. He said these great things. And the other one, he said nasty things, and then he put it under a microscope. And he said negative things to, had these black and brown formations, and they were nasty. And the water he spoke love to had these beautiful crystalline things. Why am I telling you this? Well, your body is mostly 98% water. So when your self-talk is bad and you're angry, what is it doing to the cells in your body? It's turning them black and brown. So when you're talking about something like forgiveness and you want to transmute it, a lot of people will look at me and, and they'll say, I have forgiven them. Okay, sure you did, but you didn't forgive the energy.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Everything, that's the secret sauce. Everything on the planet has an energy around it, including inanimate objects. So if you can't forgive your number 10, what else is in that memory? Let's say you were bullied in the schoolyard. That's your number 10. You don't want to forgive the bully. But you drive by that old school every day on your way to work, don't you? So you get mad every time. So it might be an 8, 9, 10. It ranks up there. So if you can't forgive the bully, forgive yourself, or forgive yourself for not being able to forgive. Start with that one. That's a good one to start with.
Yeah.
And then forgive the people around. Forgive the people who didn't run in and help you. Forgive the building and the energy around the building. Forgive your desk, the table, the chair, the playground.
Yeah.
And the energy around all these things. So I would forgive the person, the energy around the person, myself, the energy around myself, and then the energy around the whole thing. I forgave 1974.
I love that.
Why did I forgive 1974?
Please
Well, we're
tell
overlooking
us.
the fact dinosaurs were probably roaming the earth back then. That was the year I was getting horribly bullied in school. I was in the 8th grade. My parents were both alcoholics, got a really nasty divorce, and I tried to commit suicide. So I forgave all the players within that year. But then I forgave the energy around everything, and then I forgave the energy around the year. And now there's no emotional charge. I can go back into that memory, and I don't care. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I just don't care. And that's what you're looking.
Excellent. That's And that was a while ago, like you said, so that was a lot to bear. I mean, must have been such a relief to have that clarity after that. But to go back to the basics,
Hmm.
forgiveness, can we define the act of forgiveness, or is it different?
Sure.
Is it the same thing for everyone? Is it something that's, individual act? Is it done a certain way? What happens during that process?
Well, first, forgiveness for me is defined as I want you out of my head. That's it.
That's something people can understand. Yeah.
I want you out of my head. I want to
Okay.
stop thinking about it. I want the memory
Mm-hmm.
to stop. I don't want to go in to a bakery and smell something, and now all of a sudden I'm reminded of it again, or I
Mm,
see something or a color or a person. That's what forgiveness is to me. I simply want them out of my head, whatever
okay.
it is. Now, let me be clear. Forgiveness is selfish. I do it for me. I'm
Mm,
not doing it for them because they're probably, I'm all bent out of shape and they're conducting their life. They're going to parties, they're having fun. They're not giving me a second thought, which is irritating on the surface. You want them
mm,
to be as miserable as you, but they're probably not even thinking about you, right?
mm,
Which irritates you. It
mm,
also doesn't mean they were correct. They weren't correct. It means I want them out of my head. It has nothing to do with them. And it also doesn't mean just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Probably don't. Now, I've been sober for 34 years,
yeah.
and I did go through all those the recovery program, and they do want you to make amends, and they want you to reach out, and they want you to forgive you, that kind of thing.
Or
Sure.
classically one of the steps, right?
Yeah. In my world, you don't have to tell a living soul you're doing this.
Oh,
It's
that's really
your
interesting.
forgiveness is selfish. It's
Mm,
personal. You do it for you. You can do it in the privacy of your own home and nobody ever has to know. And it also doesn't matter if the person is dead or not. You can forgive dead people, to be perfectly blunt.
mm.
Because you're doing it for you, it doesn't matter where they are or
Okay.
they're
Well,
gone.
after places, things, and years, the dead people's, that's just the next
Easy.
step.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, and
Okay,
I
If you
love
so,
think
the
about
piece.
it, if you drive by your childhood home,
mm,
the memories are all gonna start popping up.
oh,
So why
absolutely.
not forgive the home and the energy around the home?
Yeah, no,
So you can
absolutely.
neutralize that memory. So next time you drive by that house, there's no emotional charge. Now I'm saying you can't forget. I mean, I would imagine some people can. But when I drive by that house now, there's no emotional charge and I'm not going to pay
Mm,
attention to it. I'm going to pay attention to the other things in my life I can now see. Maybe I see a really good way to lose weight. Okay, there's a reason to buy the book. You'll lose weight.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see a new job opportunity. Why didn't you see it before? Because you're angry.
Mhm.
Even the ones, twos, and threes, the easy ones, are chipping your life up.
and
You
that
just don't
must
know
be,
it because they're in the back of your head. They're just
mm,
kind of playing in the back of
sure.
your head. You don't even know it.
That must be such a breakthrough and rewarding experience when you do. Say if the home is a good example because some people that may not move that far from where they grew up, their work route or their route to drop their kids off passes their childhood home, or they do it for whatever reason. And then if you go through your process and do forgive that place that's full of those memories, when you do pass by and then there's not those symptoms, right? You're not triggered by it. That's got to be such a relief, right?
It trips so many people up. And I found in my travels that usually your family are amongst the higher numbers.
Mm,
Your family and your childhood. It's stupid for a 63-year-old woman to be upset. I wasn't 63 at the time, I am now, but late 50s, thinking about something that happened in the 1970s. That's ridiculous.
mm,
Absolutely ridiculous. Yet there I was, upset at some bullies from the 8th grade. See, this
wow,
stuff is inside of your head, but it's also like
sure.
an onion. And as you peel off the layers, more memories are going to pop up. So this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't get a
Mm,
number 10 dumpster fire down to a 1 in one sitting. Ain't going to happen. You might be able to get the 10 to a 9 to a 7 to a 5, and then you might
mm,
be able to toss it. I've gotten one of my 10s down to a 4, and I wrote the book
okay.
on it. They're not, the 10s are hard.
Yeah.
But there's the emotional charge behind this person is so less now that I can talk to them and it doesn't bother me anymore. Okay, it bothers me a little because
Yeah.
it's down to a 4. but
Sure.
it
Right.
doesn't bother
That's
me on the
huge.
scale
Yeah.
that the 10 scale. It's easier for me to manage.
That's huge.
Excellent.
This is amazing. This is so tangible and people can digest it. I love it. May I ask you now, what would you do with the person that claims they're not angry, right? Oh, it's fine. I'm not mad or I'm not angry. There might be what we call like a tinge of resentment or even sadness or depression around it. Do they have to get angry first? How does that work?
No, they don't.
Same
And
process.
they actually may not be angry. I know a lot of people who tell me that, and these are kind of chill people to begin with.
Sure.
And they've managed to put their hurt in the back of their mind so far, they've just
So
stuffed it
far.
away. And some people, your mind is a really interesting thing and it protects you. And if it's that traumatic an event, they legitimately might not even remember it because they won't. So, psychiatry will help bring that out because they won't remember. That's fair. So what I tell people is I want you to sit down in a quiet place and turn off your technology. Yeah, people, there's an off button, believe it or not. You can turn it off. If you can't turn off your technology, turn the ringer off, make it vibrate. Tell your dogs, your kids, your spouses, tell them to leave the room. You need at least 20 minutes to yourself. And I know a lot of people can't meditate, and that's fine. I have trouble with it myself. But I want you to just sit quietly. Let your brain do whatever it wants to do. I really don't care. And your brain is going to be automatically, it's going to start filling with images and words and feelings. So I want you to sit with a pen and paper or your laptop. Don't care what you want to do. Pen and paper works just fine. And whatever words and images form in your mind, write them down. And remember, you're thinking about people, places, and things you want to forgive. So you're giving your brain a little bit of direction. As names are just going to appear randomly, or the image of their face will appear in your mind, or the memory will appear. Write down whatever forms. Write down whatever you feel. And if you're not getting anything, my friend Katie has trouble doing this exercise, then just start with, I forgive myself for not being able to forgive. I forgive myself for not being angry. Start with that, and that will start to move the energy. Forgive yourself and the energy around yourself, and that will probably be just enough to get that little bird in your shoulder to kind of start tweeting at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you were saying earlier, we think we forgive just by saying, oh, I forgive them, or I understand, I get it, and we justify, we make excuses for them. But this is true forgiveness. This is energetically like changing people's reality.
Right. Even if you had the perfect relationship with your mother, there's probably something you need to forgive her about. So write her name down anyways.
Yeah.
Siblings, they're always high in the list. You don't always get along with your siblings and your cousins and that kind of thing. Your childhood, your grammar school, there's probably somebody back there you need to forgive, maybe your best friend. Write the name down anyways. And if you don't think you need to forgive them, then make them a 1, 2, or a 3. And start with that easy group, whether you're angry or not. The fact that it's whoever you're thinking of right now is probably somebody that should go on the list. And if you're thinking about this person, they're probably a 7 or a higher. Write them down.
Do you find that most of the people that clients and people that you work with have at the 7 to 10 or higher scale are from their childhood because those years are so formative?
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them, especially with the men. With the women, it's usually, there's no really nice way to say this. Tara will agree with me. I don't know one woman who has been sexually or verbally assaulted.
Yeah,
Sad.
absolutely.
And women are not usually believed. So they've got a whole set of anger in their head that men usually don't have. So with women, you just you have to start with that. Forgive the people who didn't believe you. Start with that. Forgive the energy around these people. See, I'm not a very religious person, but there was one passage in the Bible that allowed me to forgive my parents. Jesus is nailed up on the cross, and think about it, man, the guy had to be in a lot of pain, He's nailed up on that sucker, and he says, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. What does he mean by that? He means that if you're talking to a 5-year-old and the 5-year-old, it doesn't know algebra, you can't get angry at the 5-year-old for not knowing algebra because they haven't learned it yet. My parents did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. Was it good enough? No, but they did their best. And I can forgive that. And and then there was a few more mental gymnastics moves, like Simone Biles gymnastic moves that I had to do in my head that finally allowed me to forgive my parents.
That's
Now,
huge. Thank
yeah,
you
that
for
is
sharing that.
that is incredible because the suffering on the cross, the suffering of a child when it comes to their parents, I mean, to them, that is their suffering on the cross in many ways because those
100%.
are the people that when you're growing up, you almost think that they're godlike in some kind of way. They're infallible. They'll love you without reservation. They're doing everything in their life for you, and then when that disappointment, abandonment, resentment from them hits you, it's unlike anything you've ever experienced as when you're young. So that's difficult. Do you need to complete this to get that 8 or 9 down all the way to a 0? Do you need some buy-in from the other party? Do you need them to either meet you in the middle, or do you have to convince them? Do you have to discuss it with them? How does that work?
No. When I say this is selfish, this is an exercise for you and you alone.
Okay.
Now, if it would make you feel better to talk to the person and get some closure and have a conversation, go at it. I'm all for it. Do it. But you don't have to. They don't even have to know you're doing it. Now, they will figure it out because I guarantee you, and I don't like to guarantee anything, but I will guarantee this. You're going to start to look different. Even with the 1s, 2s, and 3s, your face will get softer. Your self-talk will probably be a little bit better. And they're going to look at you and say, Tara, did you get a new haircut? Is that a new outfit? What are you doing today? You look so good today. It's your energy field. Your energy field, the anger that's been kind of floating around your body that nobody can see, has now started to float away. And you're vibrating differently, and your energy is clearer, and they can feel it, especially if they're empathic. They can feel it.
Yep.
So
You're
they won't know
taking
why you look better, but that's why. And you'll feel better too.
taking that mug away from your face. They can see clearly.
You're going to take the mug away and say, wow, there you are. I can see Brian now. Look at that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that happens with either the 1s, 2s, and 3s. So, but let me give you a word of warning.
Okay.
I am a serious overachiever, which people have probably figured out by now. So when we came up with this method, my friends and I came up with this method around 2020, 2021. I went back and I thought, I can do this. I'm going to write down 50, 60 names and places, and it's going to be like a big Band-Aid. I'm going to rip it off, and tomorrow I'm going to be a new person, and it's going to be great. Okay, it didn't work out the way I thought it would. Remember those cells I talked about, the water cells that you're turning from a black-brown to a nice crystal, beautiful white form? They have to go someplace. I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was just my body trying to clear out all the anger. So my advice to everybody is to do 10 to 12 before you go to bed. No more than that, because your body heals itself when it sleeps. So pick like 10 people, forgive them, and then wait 24 hours. And if you pick somebody you cannot forgive, well, forgive yourself, forgive other pieces of the memory, and then, or forgive yourself for not being able to forgive this person, cut yourself a break, and then try again in 24 hours to allow your body. Some people tell me, my older son in particular says his shoulders feel lighter when he did it, even with level 1 person. And he said, it's nuts. He said, it's nuts. It's ridiculous. But he felt lighter. Some people feel pressure somewhere in their body, usually in their solar plexus. Other people just get really, really sleepy. So do it before bed, but try and not do more than 12 people, because there is a legitimate chance you will make yourself sick.
Sure.
If you're in
That's
the
amazing.
bathroom, it doesn't mean you ate some bad fish. Just roll with it.
Right. It's like a cleanse, right? It's like if you
It's
ate
exactly like a
cheeseburgers
cleanse.
all your life and then you started doing a raw veggie diet, you're going to feel sick.
Yeah. But it's also, you're losing your story. To use my own self as an example, I carried my childhood story, alcoholism, suicide, quitting drinking. It was my badge of honor. Look at what I survived. Look how great I am. I came out of the other side. And without the story, who was I?
Yeah.
Very scary. But what this what this method is going to allow you to do is to become the person you were always meant to be when you came down here. Now you're going to be able to be that authentic self. Now you're going to be able to create your dream life because you'll be able to see it. You couldn't see it through the anger before, but now you can see the opportunities. You can see the different paths before you.
Yeah, that is interesting because it was probably a little bit intimidating, or people might be hesitant, to say, I'm forgiving this house because, oh man, I remember climbing that tree in the backyard, and I did remember throwing the ball around with my little brother. So I don't want to totally forget that part of me, like you had said, you're kind of, if you're cutting something out or removing it and you're kind of losing maybe a little bit of yourself, that's what they might think. But forgiveness doesn't totally mean removing the whole entire year of 1974, right, from your memory.
No, you're forgiving the tree, and you're forgive the tree and the energy around the tree. I'm not asking you to go back into your memories and stay there. There's I only know 3 Bible verses, and strangely, they all fit together. They said, yea, I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil. Okay. It says walk through the valley. It doesn't say build a hotel there. It doesn't say have dinner. It doesn't say stay a while and sit and meditate on a bench. It says to walk through. That's what I'm asking you to do. And I'm asking you to walk through your childhood one last time so you can remove the emotional charges and the dynamite so you can live your life. Now you're still going to see Aunt Martha at Thanksgiving. You're still going to have to sit next to her. And she's still going to say the same thing that pisses you off every year. But this time you're going to laugh. There won't be an emotional charge there. She's probably still going to say the same thing, but it's not going to affect you quite as badly. And you may have to go out to your car afterwards and go, I forgive her, I forgive her, I forgive her, I forgive her, I forgive her. And you might have to put her back on our list again, but she's not going to hold the weight over you like she used to. No disrespect to anybody named Martha, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that's the benefit, I think, that you're going to see. I mean, there's so much great stuff here. One, to me, the game changer is that you don't necessarily need to be face-to-face for the forgiveness to work. So that really makes it more accessible to a lot of people that are listening. And then how it changes you, and how now people around the Thanksgiving table that may have thought you were going to get into a back and forth with Aunt Martha, right? Here they go again, now they're going to notice, that smile and that kind of carefree relaxation that you're presenting. It's changed, like you said, it's changing you.
You know what she's going to say? Make a joke out of it. Turn it into a drinking game. Every time she says whatever it is, take a drink of something. Could be a Coca-Cola,
Well, one of the things that reminds me, one of the things that you really like, and I think a lot of us can appreciate, is laughter for keeping this going, right? And filling some of that where that anger was, right? And how can laughter play a part in extending the forgiveness journey that people are going on?
I look better when I laugh than when I cry. And I learned when I had cancer, it was stage 3 breast cancer, when you have dinner with the Grim Reaper and you don't go home with the guy, it changes you. And my husband and I, we've been together over 30-something years. And
wow, congrats.
34, he would laugh if he realized I can't exactly remember how many years it's been. But we used to go in and make everybody laugh in the chemo chairs. And I did write a book on it. I got bored, so I wrote one of my books on my cell phone in a chemo chair. I told you I'm a little crazy. Writing is my happy place.
Nice, love it.
But I wrote a book about it. But can't control what life throws at me, but I sure as hell can control how I get through it. And once I learned, and so I had a positive mindset, and I didn't really allow myself to get negative, and I listened to the doctors, and I got through it. But when I came up with this method with my friends, I went back and I forgave cancer. I forgave the chemo. I forgave the surgeons. I forgave the radiation. I forgave the people who used in the grocery store who looked at me and said, oh, because I had I was bald at the time, kind of looked like Schmeagol from The Lord of the Rings. My kids were calling me Mama Schmeagol. So mean. But the lady who looked at me in the grocery store and said, oh, dear, how much time do you have left?
Oh, jeez.
I said, well, I
Wow.
could drop dead right here, lady. You might want to step back a
Jesus.
step or two.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
But, you have to laugh about these things. But I forgave her. I forgave the energy around her because
Okay.
we're not meant to be miserable. We're not meant to be poor. We're not meant to live in the streets of Calcutta dirt poor. Mother Teresa came from a very wealthy family, by the way. For those of you that didn't know, she wasn't dirt poor. But, we're meant to be happy. We're not meant to be in fear. It's just that's what everybody around us, whoever they are, I've never figured out who they are, but whoever they are, they want us to be this way.
Yeah.
And so forgiveness is going to turn that around. Your self-talk will get better. Your life will get better. Coffee and food will taste better. And it'll start to happen just in the first little bit. Let me tell you a brief story that's going to stretch your brains a little bit, if you don't mind a little morning brain stretching.
No, go for it.
I forgave a level 1 person from my childhood, from school. And I thought, I can easily forgive this person. We were really close back in school. And I hadn't seen her in like 30, 40, never mind how many years it's been. It's awful. But I thought, I couldn't even remember what we were angry at. So I forgave her. And my mantra, you don't have to sing, you don't have to dance, you don't need crystals. It's just a really simple poem because I'm a really simple soul. And you put your hand in your heart and you say the mantra, and the words are just for us humans. It's the energy and the emotion behind the words that really makes the most difference. Stay with me. 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. I had not heard from this person in over 30 years. So I'm a concierge trainer by trade. And so my training kicked in and I masked my shock as best as I could. But, I'm also a very curious little bear. So we did all the things and, we forgave and we're still good friends to this day. But I couldn't stand it. And at the end of the conversation, I said, I have to know. Why did you call me today out of all these days? And she said, it was the darndest thing. 2 hours ago, which is when I was saying my mantra, a figurine you gave me in school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of the floor, and I thought I should give you a call. So if forgiveness energy has the power to do that on a level 1 person 700 miles away, what do you think it's going to do to your life if you get into the higher numbers? What is it going to do to the water molecules in your body? You're going to feel better.
Wow.
Now,
Incredible
how do
story.
we even start, though, if we don't know how to feel good? Like, can you talk to that? Sometimes we say dream life or authentic self, and like that's so exciting, but then we get there and it's like, well, what do we do? Can we find that in the book, or can you give our listeners a couple tips to not be afraid of that? They're so used to feeling lousy, but maybe they'll be kind of scared to feel good.
Start with forgiving money and the hold it has over you. Money is energy. Obviously, money is holding a huge power over you. No, come on. We all have to eat. We need food, shelter. We all want to live that dream life on that beautiful house in the hill. I don't, because I think of how long it's going to clean. Imagine cleaning that big house. And people say, well, you can hire people. I say, yeah, but I've got other things you can do with that money. I tell you, I've got a different mindset than most people. But if you want that dream life, then try forgiving money and the energy around money and the power it holds over you, so you can pay attention to other opportunities that will probably bring you money. Let's be clear, right? Try forgiving the politicians. Try forgiving religions. Try forgiving your state. Try forgiving your family as a whole. Try forgiving yourself for wanting this dream life. Start there. That's what I'm saying. People, places, and things. You can forgive memories. You can forgive desires. Forgive your parents for saying you're never going to amount to anything. Forgive that thought. But if you really want your dream life and you really think that, you're living in lack, forgive money, because clearly you think that your lack of money is what brought you down to where you are. So forgive money. And then forgive yourself for wanting it.
Yeah.
That's going to flip the energy. And you may have to do that one more than once. Yeah. Now, this book is the first of 3. And in the next book that I'm writing, I am going to talk about money. I am going to talk about forgiving your number 10s. And the biggest number 10 is yourself. How do you forgive yourself if you are your dumpster fire, if you are the unforgivable? How do you do that?
Yeah, and that's huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
and the most
big,
challenging.
exciting, though. Thank you for doing this amazing work that is, like I said, it's so tangible, and it really is very unprecedented in these circles. And
Everybody's
so,
telling me that.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
What do you tell people? So if they've started to, there's a lot of people to forgive, right? And and
hmm
especially when you start bringing in places and things, elements of society, finances that are really burdening people. What should they do to fill those voids that are created by their forgiveness when those things aren't on the forefront of their mind, when they're now, sleeping more peacefully, when they're kind of they have the freedom now to think of different things. What practices should they be doing day to day, week to week to kind of fill those voids and not have, the unforgiven creep back in?
Nature abhors a vacuum. So if there's an empty field, nature's going to fill it. And within 5-10 years, you're going to see trees and weeds and flowers and that kind of thing. So if you remove all of that stuff, my advice, just be.
Okay.
Pay attention. Pay attention to things you see around you. Pay attention to opportunities that are presented to you. Allow these opportunities to happen. You were stopping them, right? You had a brick wall in front of you. And all these, I no disrespect to any speakers or anybody, but everybody talks about that brick wall and how you have to break through your brick wall. We're going to get out our jackhammers. And yeah, stop. Pull out a few bricks out of the wall. Circle around the dumb thing. Keep going. Circle back if you can. Just be. Sit in the middle of that beautiful cleared meadow that you've just cleared and enjoy yourself. Do things that you like and pay attention to opportunities. Maybe writing a goal list, writing a list of goals and then just letting the universe bring it to you. There was a study done at Harvard University years ago and with 2 groups of students. And this is in Sean Akers' book, The Happiness Advantage. I'm pretty sure that's where I found it. And he took 2 groups of students. One group of students, he said, just go in and take the test. The other one, he said, I want you to think of the happiest moment of your life. The kids who thought of the happiest moment of their life did 3 times better than the kids who didn't. There was another study done where kids were told to write down their goals with a pen and paper. And the other kids were just told to think their goals. They followed these kids for 20 years. The kids who wrote down the goals were 2 times more successful than the kids who didn't. So write your goals down and just be. Think of the happiest moments of your life if you have to go do something, really snarly. But just be. Let the universe give you the gifts it wants to give you. Because the universe has bigger plans than you can even imagine. Allow it to do it.
Absolutely
So
love
we
it.
don't have to try so hard, right?
No.
So the happiness and the joy, like we don't have to force it. Like it will start to come.
There's no tools I can give you that you don't already have inside of yourselves. And the only tool I can give you is to remove that brick wall and to remove those blocks so you can actually just be. If you like to knit, go sit under a tree and freaking knit.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make it
Absolutely.
into a business. Maybe not. Maybe somebody will come sit next to you while you're knitting and you'll get a conversation. And before you know it, it's your dream person. Great.
Yeah.
Just be. Let the universe give you its gifts.
Simple yet powerful. Is that part of your personal story journey? The power of empathy that you have, the intuition that you also kind of have really mastered in a lot of ways. Is that something that you had to work at? Was it always come natural to you? Was there a pivotal moment that occurred? Just a little bit of background there if you would like to share.
It's not easy being God's guinea pig. I go through all these horrible things and I always end up writing them down. When I was a little girl, I used to talk to myself in my mind. And I kind of thought everybody talked to themselves in their mind. So imagine my surprise when I found out people didn't really do that. I remember I grew up in the 60s and 70s. So the minute you show a smidge of intuition, somebody's going to slap a "you're off your rocker" sticker on your forehead, give you medicines, and put you in Bellevue psych ward. So I didn't say anything to anybody. Nobody. I'm really intuitive. And I've always had that little bird on my shoulder to help me through life. It saved my life 3 times, not that I'm counting, and learned how to listen to it. I learned how to give people messages without them knowing what I was doing. because I hid it for years until I ran into my friend Katie, who knew what I was doing and told me to stop it. Now I'm kind of out of the intuitive closet, so to speak. But yeah, I've always been able to, I've always had that best friend kind of person in my head saying, Katharine, it's okay. Katharine, you can do this. And it kind of empowered me. But I'm nobody special, guys. Everybody on the planet is intuitive. Everybody can do this. You either see it, feel it, know it, or you feel it. You go into a room and it feels off. You don't know why. It looks normal, feels off. And you're always right 10 out of 10 times. And of course, did I write a book about this? You know I did. Of course I did. Yeah.
Love it.
But it's something that every single one of us can do. We're not meant to be on this journey alone. We're meant to have the help.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
There is, I have to ask before Tara gets to any last things. You mentioned writing several times. I think it's critical to when you have the choice, of jotting something down on your phone or computer or writing, to choose writing. Journaling is something we talk about in a bedtime routine. Writing things down before the sleep state that you mentioned is critical. It can be very therapeutic as well and bring you clarity. You're so prolific with your writing. That's kind of next level. Has that always been something that's innate, or is that something you had to work out? Can you take us, a little bit behind the curtain as far as, writing a book? I mean, some people are still working on their first book or just find that even too daunting. Can you take us through that process a little bit?
I've always been able to write. In college, if the exam didn't have an essay, I was in trouble because I always knocked the essay out of the park, and that's how I got through college. But when you're trying to write a book, I got approached the other day by a friend of mine who wanted some writing tips. I'm thinking of taking a writing class. I talked her out of it. And the reason I talked her out of it is because I really think that you just have to write. And a good editor will make your words and will spin them great. Everybody thinks they need to come up with a title. They write chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Poppycock, as my grandfather used to say. I want you to just sit down and write. Even if you're writing your gratitude list before you go to bed of the 3 things you're most grateful for, which, by the way, you might want to do anyways, just write. Write a short story about your day. Write whatever you want to write. And then just keep doing it. And in a month or so, look at everything you've written. And maybe you've got a book. And then you can put them in the right chapters. And then you name the book at the end. You don't name it before.
Okay.
Just write. And that's what I've done. I just write. I write on my phone. I write, little notes to myself. And then eventually, especially with my book, Rainbows and Banana Peels, it was just I was sick as a dog. I was sick for 4 years. So I literally was writing in sound bites. And at the end, I just took all these sound bites and I put it into a book.
Wow.
Just write. If you feel like you want to write, just do it. Don't worry about how you're going to write and where the comma should go. You might want to put a few commas and periods in there so it's not one big
a little bit of punctuation.
And if you can't write, speak it. We have technology today that you don't even have to sit and write. You could talk your
dictate.
book.
Yeah.
Bless you. You could dictate it.
Yeah.
So if you really feel you have a book inside of you or a screenplay, don't let anybody talk you out of it. Just do it. And don't take a writing course. No disrespect. Don't email me because you run a writing course.
Right.
Okay. I understand the benefit of a writing course if you never took writing in school.
We get the point, yeah.
I get that. But I also get the fact that little bird in your shoulder is going to sing through you, and just allow it to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is magical advice. We absolutely appreciate everything that you've said. I do have one more question. You mentioned Dr. Emoto's book. I love his work. I love that experiment. You mentioned Happiness Advantage. Do you have a book that you could suggest other than yours? Because we want all of our listeners to read all of your books. But other than yours, can you give our listeners a book that was so impactful for you over your journey? One that stands out.
Well, one of the books is Shower Blessings, which is written by a friend of mine, Dr. Katie Knoll. And if you can't meditate, and I can't, I sit down and my brain just starts to think of all the things. It's a really brilliant book that will help you do that. Okay. Sean Akers' Happiness Advantage changed my business life because he has this outstanding way of spinning everything and allowing you to go into that very dark corporate world, because it's very dark, and kind of keeping your sanity. And anything that Mitch Albom has written, I think everybody should read.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. No, this has been
Absolutely.
such a pleasure.
There are,
Brian, any
yeah.
final words?
Well, we love that as an
Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I have a
absolutely.
story about that book if you have the time. It's a little
Yeah.
weird. When
Yeah, definitely. We love weird.
now this I'm the queen of weird. I realized I was talking to myself at one point in my life, and it wasn't just me, because I just started saying thank you for things, and in my head I would hear you're welcome, and it's I kind of put two and two together to say, that's probably not me. So I thought, I'm a college educated girl. Remember, we didn't have computers. So I'm going to go to Barnes and Noble. I think it was Barnes and Noble. I'm going to find a book. So I'm wandering aimlessly through the bookstore, and all of a sudden a book flies off the shelf and lands at my feet. Okay, books don't usually levitate at you. So I walk around to the other side of the bookshelf. There's nobody there. I walk over the other side. I'm thinking this is just too weird even for me. And I picked up the book, and it was Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And it was in that moment I finally realized that what I was hearing was absolutely not my own voice. So that's a really brilliant book. He's written a bunch of them too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Excellent. There are a lot of places people can reach you online. And to take these steps and start reading the book, for someone that's really, jazzed and excited about the hope that you're giving them. There's a lot of hope and promise here. What's the first step? They're listening right now. They're frustrated. They're in their car. Or they're thinking, man, it's going to be so difficult to get to 8 or 10. I have so many people. That list that I'm going to write down before bed tonight is going to be, dozens long. What's the first step they should take? Maybe there's not a one step that everyone should take, but what's one or two things they can do to get started on this journey of your forgiveness?
Write down 3 easy names.
Okay.
Don't even bother with the hard ones. Don't even bother with your family. The
Okay.
person who just cut you up on aisle 5 of the grocery store, put that person down.
Okay.
Okay.
The person who tripped you. 3 super easy people. The dentist who caused you a little pain the other day because you were in the dentist chair. Forgive the dentist. You could forgive the dentist. Forgive those 3 people. Start there. And that's going to change the energy just enough that you're probably going to want to keep going. But seriously, start with the easy ones. And if your list is really overwhelming you because you think you have a lot of dark people on those lists, just make a list of easy peasy ones. And don't be surprised if you write an easy one and you think, that's actually not a 2. That's probably a 6 because you're thinking about the person. You're like, I'm a little more angry than I thought. It's okay. Just roll with it. That's going to happen.
Yeah. No.
Or you run into your number 6 person and you absolutely it washes over you, and you just forgive them immediately. And when you look back at the name, that's how you know you've forgiven. There's no emotional charge. You don't care. You can look at the name and nothing happens. That's the magic. That's nirvana. That's the sweet spot. And you could, maybe it's a number 6 person. It was really a 1.
Wow.
So be kind.
Yeah, amazing. Katharine Giovanni, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you, connect with you online, and find your book?
They can go to Amazon. I have the audiobook available for people who don't particularly like to read, but the paperback ebook and audiobook is available on Amazon. They can go to my website, and my name is spelled a little strangely, thanks to my mother. Thanks, Mom. KatharineGiovanni.com, and it's KATHARINA because she wanted it to be hard for me. Giovanni.com, and I've got all
we
sorts of
forgave
stuff.
her.
I forgive her, yes.
Yes, and we'll link to those sites in the show notes for everyone.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, be in touch.
It's been a
pleasure meeting you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the work you do.
Oh, my pleasure.
Learned a lot today.